Hi, my name is Stacy Rothwell. I'm the Director of AV Production at St. Mark's United Methodist Church in Midlothian, Virginia. I've been a professional broadcast technical director since 1983. Now I'm semi-retired, but I still get to use my 40-plus years of experience and have loads of fun producing the worship streams for St. Mark's. I've been participating in many Facebook groups for church media for a while, both giving and getting help. I've had many people comment that I should make a video of how our system works, so here it is. Our church has seating for 280 people, and we have two services each Sunday, one traditional and one contemporary. Each of those is streamed. We have two Canon CRN 500s as our main cameras, which are on pedestals and on eye-line height with someone standing on the altar. We have an AVCANS camera as our high-wide shot, and another AVCANS as our reverse angle camera. We don't have an elaborate lighting system. It consists of four 150-watt LED Fresnels that fill in the house lights. We also have several accent lights around the sanctuary used mainly in our contemporary service. Audio comes through a Behringer Wing stereo audio console, which we absolutely love, which handles front of house as well as the derived stream through several mix buses. So let's start our tour. So here is our control room. It literally is a closet. It used to be where they stored the choir robes, and a long time ago was converted into a media room, and then after COVID it was converted into a control room because it's the only place we have. So over here on the left we have ProPresenter, which isn't running yet, and this left-hand computer, Mac Studio, also serves as the brains for Companion, the automation system, and LightKey, our lighting system. Here's the director's console. We only have one director, and he's the director and the TD and the lighting person and the camera operator. We do have a separate graphics operator and a separate audio engineer. So we try to automate it as much as possible. We use BitFocus Companion, and I've been extremely happy with that. So getting started, we use vMix. So our display up here for vMix, which during the production or service, we never ever touch the Windows display, ever. Everything's handled downstairs. So over here you can see we've got 5 cameras and 5 waveform monitors, one for each camera. And the nice thing about it is this lets us be able to see, like I can see camera 1 here is a little dark, and I can then shade it. And I don't have to put it on preview or anything else like that to do it. This first panel to the left is kind of the 10,000 foot view of everything here. This is where everybody's going to come to turn everything on, to find any errors. In fact, you can see an error right now. All these buttons are blinking and very upset because ProPresenter is not running. And so anything that is not running or not talking will blink red. So if everything's actually turned off, half of these buttons are blinking red to warn you that something's not working right. So over here, we basically have a thing here for resetting all the connections. All it does is go into Companion and turn everything off and turn it right back on, because sometimes things don't start talking right away. This button here is where we can turn camera 1 and 3 on and off. Those are our Canon N500 cameras. Turning on our stage monitor or turning it off, turning on the sanctuary projector, the in-ear monitor system, which we're not using right now, but if I wanted to, all I have to do is turn it on, and now it turned it on. And to start up the vMix PC, because the vMix PC is all the way under this console, which you can't even see because it's so dark and it's really hard to get in and turn it on. A couple more buttons over here. Startup items. These are, again, just things that you can press to get everything set exactly the way it's supposed to, no matter how anybody left it. This button tells you whether a light key is up and running. So it's green, it tells me that it's talking. All right. These are just the defaults for the 2 services we have to bring the lights up properly. So if I come over here to 11 a.m. lights, and I come over here and I hit the button, then the lights will come up for 11 a.m. And now when I come down here, we have a tally on it telling us that that's not only the button we pressed, but all those lights are in fact on, or as best as DMX can do with feedback. This button right here is a talkback. This just goes with the microphone that's right here, so I can talk out in the sanctuary or in the in-ear monitors of people in the band. All right, we're going to take a second right now, and I'm going to start up ProPresenter. And here it goes, and if you watch, as soon as it launches, all these indicators will go away, saying it's all happy now. Now, the director does not normally run ProPresenter, but I am a big fan of backups in case something goes wrong. All of a sudden somebody says, I gotta leave, I can't help it, I gotta go. At least we have something. So we can go previous and next. We can clear everything if something is wrong. We have 3 of our most common looks that we can just immediately punch in case it wasn't programmed right, which I program it, so I could just get mad at myself if that's the case. Then there's stage monitors, and just in case, again, if the stage monitor wasn't programmed right for the slide, then we can override it so that somebody can see something. This next button here is my favorite, and we use it not too often, but just enough. When somebody's talking and they don't hold the microphone up, sometimes what happens, as you're well aware, when somebody starts to read, the microphone slips down and then we can't hear them. So I have this little button here, and it does this. It's just enough to get their attention, and most of the time it works, and it's a nice way to say, excuse me, we can't hear you. Moving on next, this little button up here, all it does is change the monitor that's up in the control room to be different things. So if I push it, I can see the stage monitor, which I don't really use much because the stage monitor is literally right outside this window. But if I press it again, it gives me a program output with the stage monitor on top of it and a clock. Here it's just programmed by itself, or the way I usually use it is just program with the clock. So going up next, and remember, I'm not going to cover every single button here, but essentially we have another page on this thing for lighting. And this is just the general lighting, a remote control for light key, so that if we want to make small adjustments, we don't have to go into light key and change any macros on ProPresenter or anything like that. So in here it's telling me that our left and right altar lights, Fresnel's, are at 60%, and the floor lights are at 25%. But I can go over here quickly and just say, now I want the floor lights at 75%, and things like that. I can turn them off. Kill something if I want to. And every once in a while, you know, as we all know, MIDI can get stupid. So if we just hit this, it'll reset the MIDI and it'll start talking again. An entire floor and altar off. So if we do that, then everything is turned off out there except any accent lights. Accent lights are here. And again, these are just quick. We have a lot more programmed into ProPresenter, but these are just the quickies. Oops, somebody forgot to actually put something in ProPresenter, so no problem. We'll just go over here, hit the red buttons, and now the lights will come up red out in the sanctuary. So now that I've messed it up, I can just go back home, and on the home page I have lights for 9 a.m. service and 11. I'll just press the 11 a.m. service, and now everything comes back up exactly the way it's supposed to. That's pretty much it for this module. Let's come over here and look at the switcher portion. So the switcher is made up of 3 Stream Deck XLs grouped together inside Companion as one object. So when I change things, everything changes. I don't have to manage all of this. Over on the left side is pretty much switcher stuff. So here we have the crosspoint buttons. Here's program and preview, just like it would be on a normal switcher. This button here switches between our traditional and our contemporary service because they each have different memories and they have different things that happen. And what we do is we put a lot of these over here, and a lot of these are identified with purple outlines, just to help you know where you're at. This button in the upper left is kind of the heart of the whole thing, Auto Stream. And we have one for 11 o'clock, and we have one for 9 o'clock, depending on which, this is delegated to. It's off right now, hence it's blinking and warning you that it's not on. But all this does is it turns on a trigger inside Companion, and when you hit it, this button gets disabled, so it won't work. So when you do that, everything is automatic. For the 11 o'clock service at 10:56:42, when I turn this on, it's going to turn on this trigger, 11 a.m. Auto Stream, which when we come over to Companion, this is not really a Companion tutorial, but it will start every single thing that we have that starts these things. It starts the stream automatically. It sets a whole bunch of stuff on the audio mixer. It makes sure that vMix is all set with its audio properly. It also sets a whole bunch of stuff on the mix bus that's used for the stream. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that happens when this thing triggers. This next button is a manual start and stop for the stream, and it also records the line feed. All this does is when it gets at a point, it simply pushes this button for us. But if all of a sudden something fails or you forget to do something, and believe me, I have, forgot to turn this thing on and it's sitting here blinking red and I don't even notice it. Unfortunately, I'm not perfect. You can get out of it by just hitting this button and let it go. This button here is we record all 32 tracks of our band during our contemporary service, and all this does is saying when we get down to this button, roll open, all that happens is it'll start the SD recorder on the Wing mixer. This button right here is just in case we ever want to record ISOs. We can hit this and it will then record all 5 cameras isolated. Okay, let's go back to this button, the countdown start. Now, if this is enabled, this happens automatically at exactly 10:56 and 42 seconds. Everything will start, but when it's off, nothing happens. So right now, I'm just going to hit this button, and what'll happen is it's going to come up there and it's going to put the countdown online. Now, right now, we have nothing online because we're not doing anything. Out here, all the announcements are playing out on the 2 screens. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit the countdown start button, and what will happen is it then triggers everything from ProPresenter. So kind of an interesting thing. First of all, over on ProPresenter, we're running a timeline which does all this stuff, and that wonderful thing of it keeps changing it. Here's the timeline, but if you notice here, I've got 4 channels of audio. Channel 1 and 2 always feed the audio mixer, which goes in the sanctuary. Channel 3 and 4 only go to ProPresenter. We wanted different music for what's in the sanctuary and what's online, so that's how we do it. We basically make it so that channel 1 and 2 keeps going out in the sanctuary. We kill the feed from the audio mixer into vMix, and then we simply have the music going straight into vMix for the stream. So I'm not going to sit here for 4 minutes and 19 seconds waiting, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to come over like that, skip ahead a little bit on the timeline. That's the beauty of a timeline. So what's going to happen in about 5 seconds, the box is going to disappear. And now. And it just sits there with our logo. And when it gets to 10 seconds, the logo will disappear, text will come in the center screen, and we're about ready to do our thing, which is the roll open button. Now this is manual because if they're late, I don't want to roll it open and be sitting there with the camera dead. So here it is. I'm going to roll the open. I'll just come down, preset camera 2. Dissolve to 2, and everything works again. In fact, you can see a fader automatically coming up. All of the audio pieces that I didn't want to happen on the stream during the countdown from the mixer will come back up automatically to where they're supposed to be when the open finishes. And they'll all fade in, so there's no hard cuts or anything like that. And now we're into our service. Okay, so now coming over to these 2 panels. These 2 panels are simplicity itself. This panel is camera 1 and camera 2 recalls. This panel is camera 3 and camera 4 recalls. Except this one has a little bit of stuff for the switcher, and it's only because I'm used to a very large production switcher like a Sony or a Grass Valley, like 4 MEs with 60, 80, 120 inputs, and so I was used to having a larger panel, and I didn't like putting cut and auto trends right here. It bothered me, so you know, it's good when you're in charge of the department. You can do what you want. So over here are our cut auto trans. This is the trans rate. If I hit it, it just goes back between 25 and 75. And this is where we put the lower third in, basically a keyer. So on camera 1, we have all of the shots, or I'd say 95% of the shots that you will ever need for our 11 o'clock service. Wide shot, the altar, worship leader, swing the camera around to get the audience, piano, choir, etc., 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 and then a whole bunch of empty ones that you can put something in. I just mark my script that say, hey, you know, I've got the handbells, so the handbells are going to be on 15 and 16 for this camera. Since these are Canon N500s, they can pan, tilt, and zoom and ramp up and ramp down all at the same time for looks like a human's running it. So if I come up here and I hit audience wide and it's in fast mode, it'll go as fast as it possibly can. Come back over here, and this is probably the way that most cameras work. I can go to the worship leader very fast, but it doesn't look well. But if I come down here and I program easy, and if you hit it again, it's 2 seconds, 5 seconds, or 10 seconds. If I go over to easy and I go ready to do the worship leader, I can come over here and I can hit the button and it will do a nice 10-second push into it, and then it will land very nicely on the invisible worship leader, which actually isn't there right now, and it's going to go right into a microphone stand. Camera 3 is on the right hand of the sanctuary, and it has just shots that are meant for camera 3. Now this one has the auto tracking from Canon, so we can turn the tracker on or off if we want to, and it'll sit there and blink just a little bit to catch your eye to warn you the tracking is on. And I'll just turn it back off. And camera 4 is our reverse angle camera. So camera 4 is at the back of the altar. So we can do things like see the pastor speaking during his sermon. We can come over and see the choir. If they're in, we can come over and get a side shot of the choir. I also use it for the open. So when they come through and the processional kind of comes down, I'm able to cut to a reverse angle and then cut back to the other side. So it's very handy to have, and it's funny, I was actually convinced that the position of this camera, since it's visible, that people were not going to be happy with it, and it was totally the opposite. We got so many, hey, wow, what a great angle that is. It's so nice to be able to see the audience. So, who knew? Okay, so what happens if I want to go up there and I want to store something new? So let's say I come over here and I say, here's camera one, it's sitting here on preview, and I don't want that music stand, but I want to take camera one. I'm just over here using the joystick. I want to take camera one, and let's see, I want to go and maybe just show the drums right there or something. So I want that shot. All I have to do is come down here. I'm going to say pick number 13 or 14, and if I hold it down for 1 second, it'll flash, tell me that it's stored. So now if I go over here to, this shot, and then I go down here and I hit number 14, we stored it right from here. We didn't have to do anything else for it. It works pretty well. The only downside is I can't figure this out because these all tally. If I go to camera one, these are all going to light up red, so I know not to hit them, and that never stops me. I still make mistakes that way. But if I go and try to store this, unfortunately, it's already red, and the tally overrides it. So I'm still trying to figure out how to do that. So the last thing I want to talk about on the Director's Console are these two Stream Deck Pluses. Now, these are actually my favorite pieces of the whole thing. What these are is they work in tandem with each other. They're also a group, so whenever I change one thing, it changes something else. So on our home base, so what boots up is this. We have basic lighting, just basic. So I don't even have to go over to this one and go to the lighting. I can just see at any time what the altar is. Right now it's at 60%. The floor is at 40%, which is normal for us. We can turn them off instantly. We can change them if we want. If somebody comes down on the floor and it's not bright enough, I just hit floor 60 and the lights will increase to 60. All of our accent lights, these aren't all the colors we have, but it's all I can fit up here. Again, we can turn them all off, anything like that. But where this is down here, these are the 5 cameras, and I'm able to shade them. Now, I use that term very loosely. The Canon cameras are, higher end cameras, and they really can be shaded. The AVCAN's cameras are, you can adjust the iris, and that's about it on them, and it's not smooth, but it's better than nothing. We run both of our Canon cameras at f4.5 all the time. We never change it. That way we get a shallow depth of field, and all we do, since we're pretty well lit in here, all we do is adjust the gain. So when I say I'm shading this camera, I'm simply adjusting the gain. So if I come over here to camera one, and let's go ahead and put it on a little wider shot here. So I can come over here and I can adjust the camera. And we have waveform monitors for every single camera, as I mentioned earlier. So as I come over here, I can sit here and adjust. So I don't have to preview this thing. So we have one of these for each one. The next thing we have is over on this detail. If I go to detail, this now lets me see camera 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and all the stuff that's on part of them. So if I go over here to camera 1, I can set the mode for the iris, the exposure, the gain, the shutter, the black level, the white balance, everything. In our system, anything that's green is good. Anything that is not in normal will be yellow. Not blinking red, but just letting you know that, hey, this is how we're supposed to run these things. So I'm going to put this back and put the iris back in manual. The knob will sit there and tell me I'm at f3.4. I have no, exposure compensation turned on. Okay. Here's my gain. Here's my shutter speed, 1/60th for a 180-degree shutter. We're running at 29.97. Our black level, if I ever need to adjust that, that's a genuine black level on the camera, not just upping the signal. And we normally run at 30K, but all these let us choose anything. I can go to camera 3 and adjust all these things too. I can come over to camera 2. Now camera 2, unfortunately these cameras don't give really any feedback or anything, so all I do is put an indicator here saying I can adjust the iris, I can adjust the gain, I can adjust the shutter speed, and that kind of stuff. If I go over here to camera 3, remember I said camera 3 has auto tracking. Well, these are all the parameters that I can adjust to change it, the target size, all that kind of stuff. Normally I'd have to go into the Canon software. Honestly, the Canon software is easier, but for small little things like programming the initial point, if I needed to, I can just hit that button and do it right here. Audio, at the moment, all this is I can tell it to start and stop and record and add a marker to our SD recorder in our Wing audio mixer. So like a lot of other churches, we have audience mics out inside the sanctuary. They're pointed down at the audience and they only go to the stream. They don't go ever to the sanctuary. Why would you do that? But we have control over those. These microphones here, I can go and I can turn these up or down if I want to. And I actually have color codes. So if you're right on the money, it's a perfect green. If you go too low, it starts getting darker and darker, and now it's telling you we can't hear it, so why are you doing this? If I press the button, it goes back to 0. But I also have this nifty little button right here. These two last buttons up here, audio normal and audio loud. So we haven't kind of got to this yet, but this is running Mixing Station, and all this is a representative of the mix bus, the final mix bus that's being used for the stream. So if we need to change something on the stream, like the piano isn't loud enough, I can just come over here and adjust the piano to be louder, or if it's too loud, I can bring it down, that kind of stuff. So right here is my audience. So right now the audience is at 0, and we have it set so that it's zeroed out at a nominal thing where we don't get too much echo or hollowness in the room. But if I know that the pastor is going to tell a joke, it's 11 o'clock and I've heard the sermon already at 9, and I know he's going to tell a joke and I know people are going to laugh, I'll hear it coming. And what I did is I put 2 buttons down here so it allows me, if I hit audience loud, as soon as I hit it, it'll bring that up over a period of 1.5 seconds. And they laugh, ha, 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 ha. I come down here, I hit audience normal, and it takes a little longer, 3 seconds, and it will fade it back down. So it's a quick and dirty way to be able to quickly get your vocal mics up. So the last thing on here I want to talk about is on our stream, we put reverb on the vocals of the band at our contemporary service. They don't want them in the sanctuary because if you look over here, you can pretty much see this sanctuary is probably a gigantic echo chamber, and it kind of is. So why put reverb on something that already has natural reverb to it? Now we turn the reverb on and off inside ProPresenter. So what we do is we have, these are lighting cues, by the way. A means blue accent lights are turned on. And what happens here is they put up the normal title for the copyright and things like that. And then because the band always has a little intro, we get that over with. And then they just go to this, and this turns the reverb on. It's a macro. And what it does is it comes over here. If we look here now, this button is now blinking. It uses Rosstalk from ProPresenter and basically just pushes this button on the control panel here. And what it does is it turns the reverb on and off. That's this third mixer onto the right. And when I turn it off, you can see when I punch it, I can turn it off, turn it on. Now these buttons, just like my audience normal and loud, this one goes to specific places. It's either on, it either fades on or fades off. It does give you a nice blinky thing to warn you the reverb is on. But if you come over here, we have exactly the same button, except this knob will allow me to go, oh, you know what, this song, the reverb's a little too loud. I can just bring it down just a tad. So speaking of audio, this, as I said a moment ago, is Mixing Station. A lot of you are probably very familiar with Mixing Station. It's absolutely phenomenal. For $15, you just can't possibly beat it. We have a little touch screen that goes as another display on Windows. All we're using Mixing Station for are small little tweaks that the director can make if something doesn't sound right. For instance, there is a separate vocal and instrument stream bus that only goes just to the stream. So if for some reason I find that the mix doesn't sound right and I can't hear the vocals enough, I can just come over here and slightly back off the instruments a little bit. And it doesn't affect the front of house. So we use that a lot, actually, because, you know, what sounds good in front of the house may not sound good here, but we don't have the personnel to have a separate audio engineer just for the stream. And frankly, this works pretty well. Over here, this is for the directors. It just shows basically what the front of house levels are, what the actual mixer master is for the front of house. This is the speakers, this is the mix, and this is the stream. And I tell my folks to take a look at this. If you see this little bouncy thing, that's the noise coming from the audience mics. So it tells you that the Dante connection that we have from the mixer into Windows is working, because sometimes they don't work so well because it's just the little Dante adapters like USB, and sometimes Windows just gets stupid and it just forgets the USB is there. And that's a perfect way to tell if it's working or not. One last thing I forgot to talk about was our PTZ controller. This is just a cheap $450 Avidion, I don't even know how to pronounce it, Visca controller, and it's actually really good. You can buy a whole lot more expensive controllers. Certainly Canon wants to sell you a $5,000 controller for their $6,000 camera. But this thing is really good. Now, obviously, you know, anybody who's used pan, tilt, and zoom joysticks, you have to get used to it and you have to work. But, I mean, I may not be the perfect guy, but I can do a pretty darn good job of moving this thing nice, maybe coming over here. We do a lot of live panning and tilting, and you know, come over here, somebody's here. Now I can do a nice slow push to somebody in here, panning and tilting. So it's really a good controller. This and the one from Avcans are essentially exactly the same controller. They just have different labels on the front of them. They're the same exact controller. I highly recommend it. I really do.